You wanted to bring up another lesser-known case that's coming up before the Supreme Court in November. That's Becerra v. Empire Health Foundation. And this is a case about how hospitals with mostly low-income patients calculate payments under Medicare. Give us some more details on that case.
Yes. So the specific challenge in Becerra is to a specific rule that limits the reimbursement for hospitals that primarily serve low-income patients, as you were saying. But the reason why the plaintiffs are arguing that regulation is unconstitutional could send major shockwaves throughout the federal government and how much of our lives are governed today, because the plaintiffs are arguing that administrative agencies like the Department of Health and Human Services lack the authority to definitively interpret the federal statutes they administer. That rule that federal agencies get to interpret the statutes they administer provides the basis for many environmental regulations, many food and drug and safety regulations, as well as many workplace regulations. And if this conservative court were to embrace the idea that administrative agencies lack the authority to interpret the statutes they administer, that could greatly hamstring agencies' ability to set rules for much of what governs our lives today. And this case is really part of the conservatives' challenge to the legitimacy of administrative agencies.
So if the administrative agencies, if it's ruled that they don't have the ability to interpret those statutes, who does? Who is that left to?
It would be left to the federal courts. And so it would be the Supreme Court seizing for itself the power to interpret these statutes. And given who is on the Supreme Court and given who is on the federal courts today, that would largely be a group of Republican appointees that would be taking for themselves the power to review Democratic agencies' interpretations of the law. And that could, again, limit Democratic administration's ability to regulate food and safety, to regulate climate change, to regulate energy, and a host of other topics.
So when we look at Medicare, what kind of implications could this ruling have for the Medicare program in hospitals, for instance?
I think it could have broader implications for the larger healthcare industry. Obviously, people are familiar with the Affordable Care Act, the statute that granted a bunch of protections to people trying to purchase health insurance. And the agencies under various administrations have created rules saying, well, that statute requires health insurance companies to offer coverage for contraception. That prohibits agencies from discriminating against people with disabilities by giving them less favorable drug plans. And if you remove agencies' ability to create those protections, then you are allowing the federal courts to chip away at the protections for people in the health insurance and healthcare industries.
Why do you think this case has gotten less attention?
I think because the issue is so very technical, that is, whether it is administrative agencies or federal courts who are interpreting statutes, that doesn't grab the public's attention in the same way that the abortion case or the Second Amendment case do. And it's also because this case is coming to the court in the context of a regulation that might not strike people as that impactful. It concerns a specific reimbursement procedure for the Medicare program. And so I think people might just not appreciate how significant this issue could be.
So what is the best way for the public to understand the broader implications of some of these cases? Because as you said, with that Medicare case, on its surface, it seems to be, whatever the ruling is, it would have a very narrow effect, when in fact the effect could be broad.
One would be to listen to your show, Jen, while we're discussing that. Another would be there are a bunch of really great reporters and scholars who are trying to draw attention to the practical effects of the court's decisions.
That's Leah Littman, co-host of the podcast Strict Scrutiny and professor at the University of Michigan Law School. Leah, as always, thank you.
Thank you.